Show. It's your host, Wayne Turner, with another episode. If you don't know and you didn't see the game last night, the Cavs suffered another tough loss to the Georgia Bulldogs, 63-62, on a shot that was made with about 1.5 seconds left. Tough to watch. Really tough game. It's always tough when you're going to Georgia to play. But unfortunately, we suffered another third straight loss. Today, I have a very special guest on the show, another one of my brothers. I like to think that this brother right here is probably one of the most underrated shooters in Kentucky basketball history. I've honestly,
without a doubt,
to this day, since I've played basketball, never seen anyone shoot the ball quite like this guy. And, he deserves his props on that level. And I appreciate him getting on the show. Carmeron Mills, how you doing today, bro?
I'm well, bud. How are you? Let's get let's settle this right from the get-go. 1997 NCAA tournament, second leading scorer on the team. Who is it? And get it right.
Carmeron Mills.
There we go. Got it right. Well done. Now we can proceed. I don't know why you argue.
After me. Ron Mercer, Wayne Turner, then Carmeron Mills.
Ron Mercer, Cameron Mills, Wayne Turner. You want to go back before the tournament? I can go back to SEC tournament. That might be the case. But during the tournament, Ron Mercer, Cameron Mills, Wayne Turner. That's the way it works.
All right, bro. Hey, we'll get back to that, okay?
All right, fair enough.
Right now, let's talk about our Wildcats.
Oh, we actually going to talk about this year's team? I thought we were going to rehash.
We're talking about this year's team. I mean,
okay.
Tough loss, third straight one in the SEC. I mean, how do they?
I don't know. This, bro? I don't know, man. I don't think Cal knows what to do. I mean, at some level, you start to think, okay, is this a talent thing, right? Because the conversations that I've had with people that around the program, and it's not like inside people. But they start talking about COVID. They start talking about this is a hard year for everybody, and all that's true. And but every other team's going through the same thing, right? These teams that are beating us, they're going through COVID as well, of varying degrees. So it is different. It is weird. Maybe because they're younger, it affects them more. Because you and I were talking the other day when they don't get to play in front of 24,000 people, and when you're young and you're 18. And you can't you don't know to kind of build the momentum on your own back. And all right, yeah, we're down 10 and our back's against the wall, so we've got to turn it around. That's kind of when you maybe it's fair to say that's when you need your home crowd to turn it around for you. And they haven't had that. I mean, it's just that nothing's gone right this season. It's been crazy, starting with Keon's injury and then all the way through to now where BJ's not playing anywhere close to what they expected. So I don't know. I mean, it's not one answer, and I know you know that, but at what point do you start figuring out what the little answers are to hopefully turn the season around? And then what's it mean to turn the season around at this point? I mean, I know the guys can't quit.
Games left. There's still games left.
No, I know that, but what I'm saying is, if we win out, and that's a big if, right? Because I think 6 of our next 8 games are against maybe top 25 teams, something ridiculous. Which sounds crazy being an SEC, but if we win out, can we make it in the tournament? And I know you don't necessarily know the answer to that, but what I think at some point we got to say, what's the definition of good season for this team? Because that one Patino's team went 14-14, Wayne, and everybody loved them. 14-14 Kentucky team, everybody loved them because they were supposed to do much worse. This team's not going to have that luxury because they were supposed to do much better. But I don't know. The only fun thing is watching Dante kind of become who everyone was hoping he was. And we were starting to hear that maybe he was as far as his shot. And it's just fun watching somebody kind of get their confidence on the floor.
No, I totally agree. But, I was on Cal staff for a little while. And Cal is a big preparation coach. I mean, you and I played for a big preparation coach. And that's important, especially when you're bringing in first-year guys to adapt and learn your system. It's a system you got to learn. And you don't just learn it. You don't learn it without practicing.
Right.
And to their defense, they weren't able to prepare the coaches I'm talking about, the staff,
Yeah.
their guys the way they normally do. I mean,
Yeah.
how come they don't get, some leeway with that? How come people can't understand that?
Well, you know the answer to that, and it's the double-edged sword of Kentucky fans. It's they're completely irrational as far as what they expect every year, and I know it's probably a large or a small group of very vocal people, but um, when you and I were here, man, and we thankfully there wasn't social media, but you and I were around fans who would just casually say, but you always knew they were serious. Y'all going to win it this year, right? And we're like, yeah, we're sure we are. That kind of thing. And no, they really want to know because they really believe we can and will, which is a great attitude to have when you're on the team. But when you're a fan, it's not really a fair attitude to have. I mean, we've had 118 years of Kentucky basketball. We've got 8 national championships. That's one every 14 and a half years. So we don't win it every year. But there's not going to be any leeway because they got to have somebody to blame, whether it's Cal, whether it's BJ, whether it's Kenny Payne leaving. I mean, I saw that today. Everyone's wanting Kenny Payne back as though that would magically solve the problem. They're just not getting any leeway because they're Kentucky. I mean, that's the end of the line because the Kentucky fans won't grant them much and everybody else is going to pile on. But I say double-edged sword, Wayne, because look, the reason we've not had years like this often, and what is it? You can go back to 1920s or something, or 19 aughts since we've had something like this happen. The reason is because of the fans, because the fans, do what they're doing now. They won't stand for it. They take a coach who's an All-American or a Hall of Fame coach who's won to what, 4 Final Fours, 5 Final Fours, 1 national championship, 1 runner-up, and say fire him, which is just absurd, and then you've got media people saying, basketball's left Cal behind, which is absurd. It's just a matter of there's something going on with this team. They may just not have the mix, the gel, I don't know. Maybe it's talent. I don't know. Nothing. But bottom line is everyone else, you and I, all the fans, we can get mad, we can get angry, we can get frustrated, and we can quit, but they can't, right? Because they can't just say, well, it's like the fans who say, I'm done with them this year, right? Well, the players can't do that. They've got to go out and play. They've got to go out and practice. They've got to go out and work. And I don't want to feel too sorry for them because at some point you got to bust through this. At some point you got to become bigger. And you and I know things at easy times don't make you better. It's things like this when you become better and you kind of grow as an individual and as a team.
I also feel, yeah, I agree. And, I also feel like, we were embraced by fans as well. I mean, I think for the first time my senior year, I lost back-to-back games in the SEC conference.
Yeah.
And, we were like, I think we finished like 27-7. And it seemed like just an awful year because that wasn't what we did every year.
Right.
So I feel like the expectation is definitely high, was set high from the beginning by Cal.
Yeah.
But how do you want to fire or get rid of someone who has an 80% winning record?
Well, the simple and illogical answer, hear me say, is well, because he hasn't. How many years has he been here? Cal, he's been here what?
I believe this is like his 11th, 10th,
his 11th year. Okay, so he's coached 10 full years. He's not won 10 national championships. That's why you fire him. I mean, you don't fire him. He's got a lifetime contract. There's a reason he's got a lifetime contract. This is a bump of the road. A bump of the road we don't have very often, but he'll figure out something. They'll figure out something. And every other team, including North Carolina and Duke, are going through on some level what we're going through this year. It's fine. We can have one of these every 100 years.
Well, we didn't win the championship until 1996. The last one was won in 78.
78. It's a long time. And there was maybe one Final Four in that time period as well. Maybe 2. So 78 they win, and I think maybe 83 or 82 they go the Final Four, and then 92 they go the Final Four, and then us. And by the way, when we say us, we don't mean Wayne and I, because Wayne didn't even play in the national championship game in '96. He sat the bench the whole time with me.
I did, but I played in the Final Four.
That's fine. Fair enough. I warmed up in the Final Four.
You didn't. I got to steal.
I
got to steal in the bucket.
We all have a role. We all have a role, Wayne. I played my role in '96 flawlessly.
We do. I don't know if you saw after the Auburn game. I was just a little curious about it, but Jacob Toppin said something.
Yeah, I did see this.
Team. I mean, what do you make of that? I mean,
well, I think on some level, I feel like he's trying to be a leader, right? Because he's seems like he's going to be the guy, or he's trying to be the guy that's going to call somebody out. Well, that's great. The problem is if you're a teammate, if you're the coaches can use whatever methods they want to get their team motivated. If you're just a player, you don't use the media to motivate your team. You don't call out your brothers to the media. So I like what he's thinking. I just wish he had, if there's one particular or two particular people that he's got in mind when he says, we start to revert to me. If there's a couple of guys that he's got in mind when he says that, and I assume there are, he needs to go to them and just say it to them face to face and have it out. And maybe that's something that this team does need. But that kind of thing, I like that he's doing. I like what he's saying. I don't like who he's saying it to, because that shouldn't be said to the media. That shouldn't be said to the fans. That should be said in the locker room, and the locker room only.
I agree. We definitely.
Well, you should, because you remember when you got yelled at for talking too much to the media?
I tried to avoid the media as much as possible. What are you talking
Okay,
about?
but we didn't avoid the media all the time. After games, we always had to talk to them, and before the games, we all had to talk to them too. And you decided freshman, sophomore year, I can't remember. Because I love this moment. See, these moments are wonderful now. Even actually, this one was wonderful then, because you're the one that got yelled at and no one else. You decide to share, because we'd been working on, I don't even remember who we were playing, but you decide to, in the media, whoever you're talking to, you said, if I was them, this is what I'd do to us, because we don't handle that very well. So basically, you're giving a scouting report to our opponent that we're playing the next morning.
I remember what I said. All I said was, teams that pressure don't like pressure. I think that's something that was what I said.
That's along the line.
How true was it? It was true.
But you got just a little bit more specific and said it wasn't teams. It was, I'd press us, man, because we're just not handling the press right now, which was completely based on how we would practice the past few days. So coach sees that quote, and I don't know if it's in the paper or TV the next day, and you know how he does. He doesn't think about it until he sees you, and the moment he sees you, he recalls what he was going to yell at you about. And so he busted you about that. And I'm sitting there thinking what you just said. What was Wayne doing even talking to the media? He hates the media. He doesn't talk to the media. So you got our point guard giving strategy to whoever we were playing. I think we beat him, by the way, by 20, whoever it was. Because I think they did.
That's why I wasn't worried about giving them.
See, that maybe you were playing the mental game. That's what you were doing. I'd press us, man, and then be ready for the press. Coach Pete did that one time. Were you on team when we played Villanova at home? I think you probably were. It's 97. So
yes,
yeah, you would have been.
Yes. Yeah.
And you remember they were coming, like we were 8th, maybe. They were like 4th in the country. And they came in, and Coach Patino, there was one stat he was worried about, and that was rebounding. One stat. He said, this is the best rebounding at Villanova.
Yeah, it was
best
all
rebounding team I've ever seen, right? Because Coach P always talked in hyperbole. It's the best rebounding team. And if we don't beat them on boards, guys, or at least get close, they're going to crush us. So we worked on rebounding more than anything for like a day and a half, it seemed like. Went out and I think we out-rebounded them by 25 and beat them by like 25. It was that one thing that this is what we had to do. This was the game plan. So Coach had that one down.
Yeah. Hey, we prepared very, very hard. We did
very long,
right before the game, and very long. Couple more questions about last night's game. I mean, obviously you saw it, they lost on an underneath out of bounds play, something that we definitely got screamed and yelled at for in practice.
and
Carmeron.
rehearsed. How many of those did we dummy up?
Oh
I
gosh.
mean, those are those things that I think the great coaches and get their great teams to understand how important those things are. Because how many underneath or side out of bounds plays did we have? I mean, seriously, like 4 or 5, maybe. We didn't have many.
We didn't have many, no.
But we drilled them and drilled them and drilled them and drilled them and drilled them. And apparently Georgia had been drilling them too. We just weren't ready for what we should have been ready for.
Yeah, I thought so as well. And it was just unfortunate they got in there and got that bucket, and they suffered another loss. But one bright spot that I did see in
Yeah.
last night's game was I thought Brandon Boston had a solid game. I thought he played like the All-American he came in from high school to be. I mean, 18 points, 7 rebounds,
Yep.
1 steal, one assist, but he also had only 1 turnover.
Yeah.
For a freshman who had been struggling, that it was really good to see him have a good game last night. What do you think about Brandon Boston?
Well, here's the thing, and I don't know if you're any good at this, Wayne, but you've coached, and it's one thing to be a player, and then you've got the coaching experience as well. And I don't know if as you become a coach or spend more time coaching, if you build the chops as far as evaluating talent, because maybe it's because I never coached, maybe it's because I'm just not good at it, but I can't look at a player in AAU ball or an 8th grader or even a senior in high school, and I can't tell you what their star rating is. I can't tell you if they're ready for the next level, high, low, mid. I don't know if they're college material. I just don't know. I cannot tell based on anything. And I just wonder sometimes how much science is actually going into these evaluations of these players. Because they're given these star ratings, and we tend to believe these star ratings are gospel. Whatever, if they're a 5-star recruit, then by golly, they better be a 5-star recruit when they get here. Well, that's fine, but that 5-star label has been given to them by who knows who. I mean, ESPN's decided, or Rivals has decided, and they get these labels put on them. And then they got to deal with, and look, at this point, it's pressure anyway, but then they got to deal with the pressure of living up to the standards that someone else put on them, not their goals, not who they think they are, not who maybe their coach thinks they are, but who some website thinks they are. It's all well and good to be a 5-star recruit, but at the same time, jump in your freshman year and you got to live up to that. And we've seen some players here who haven't, and they've had to stick around a few years, which we as fans love, but they don't seem to love. What was exciting about Boston last night is he, more than anybody, right? And you kind of wonder if that's not who Toppin was talking about. At least that's what I assume he was talking about. Maybe it wasn't. But you see the way Brandon has just been struggling with the pressure, all the pressure in the world already on him. Now, he may not feel it. I don't know how much you felt it, like no matter, different points in the season, if you felt like pressure of, okay, well, my last outing, I didn't play well, so I got to come out, for the fans, for the media, for the NBA, for Coach P, more than anything. But I got to respond. And the way Brandon's gone, like how many games in a row, just getting worse and worse and worse and struggling. You kind of wondered where the bottom was and if he was going to respond. And so, yeah, in a loss, and that's frustrating, but there were flashes of it. There's the making of what we thought he was going to be, or on some level. And so I guess I would say it's, gosh, you just think it's all confidence now, right? It's getting in there and doing that. He's done it one game. Now, can we do it another game? And it's like when Dante got in and hit his 7 threes against Mississippi State. Nobody honestly or realistically could have expected him to come out the next game and hit 7 threes. What you wanted him to do is what he did. He came out and he kept shooting threes, and maybe he'd hit 2 of 5. Maybe he'd hit 2 of 7. He kept shooting them though with confidence. And that's what I want from Boston is I want him playing as though he may not be having the freshman year he imagined, but I want him building towards playing as though he's the star that he's supposed to be.
No, I got you. And, 3-point shooting that obviously has been, a big struggle for Kentucky this year. So what do you do now? I mean, do you focus on getting elite 3-point shooters? I mean, what
Well, yeah.
should Cal do that? I
Well,
mean,
yeah. I mean, clearly he should, but he thought he had one, right?
Mintz shoots the three. Askews, I could see, making threes. He's open and he's got it going.
Oh, I see
And
what you say. When you say find,
I, I
you're not talking about recruiting for next
yeah,
year.
I mean, that's what's missing. Well, it looks like it's missing the outside shooting, the 3-point shot.
Oh, it's clearly
How
missing.
do you fill that void?
I'm look, you one of two ways. You go out and you find a senior transfer that can for immediately, or you go out and recruit another freshman. But the thing is that we thought we had that 3-point shooter in Boston, and we may yet. But maybe that's the best part of the season is Dante then, because without Brandon suffering or struggling, I should say, I don't know that Dante gets the chance, because once Dante was in against Mississippi State and hit those 7 threes, whether coach Cal was, holding on to his playing time a little bit closely to give other guys an opportunity or not, there was no going back from that point. Everybody said Dante could shoot. He went out there and proved he could shoot. But look at our 98 team. We didn't just have one guy that could shoot. Our 96 team, we didn't have one guy. We had Tony Delk could shoot. Mark Pope could shoot threes. Walter McCarty could shoot threes. Shep could shoot threes. Anthony Epps could shoot threes. Derek Anderson could shoot threes. Ron Mercer could shoot threes. You were basically the only one that couldn't on the team.
I could shoot the three.
You could shoot it, yeah, but it never went in. And then you had me on the bench. I mean, I could shoot threes, but I was on the bench. But think about it, 98 team. You had Scott, you had Shep, Moo could drain them. I mean, it just makes it so much easier when you got 5 guys on the court. You've got you able to beat your man anytime around you want to, and then you got 4 guys that can spread out as you drive in, and you've got to respect it. You've got to open everything up. We just, other than Tyler Hero, we've had some great shooters, like singular, right? I don't know how many we've had on a team under Cal that, like, man, we got like 3 or 4 like knockdown shooters on this team. And I guess I wish he'd go out and maybe find a Scott Padgett, a Mark Pope, in the sense that, yeah, this guy's 6'10", but he can shoot 38% from the 3-point line.
Well, Olivier can make the 3.
How many has he shot?
That's true. We need an inside presence.
No, I don't care. Listen.
Which, by the way, I thought Isaiah Jackson had a great scoring game as well. He was 6 for 6 from the field. I mean, double-digit rebounds. I mean, hey.
I'm gonna look it up here real quick and see. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find the exactly, but if Olivier can shoot, and he's shown that he will shoot, and he's made, I think he's made 1 or 2, then just step back out there and keep shooting them. I mean, I wonder how much of it is, and you watch it with a different eye than I do, Wayne, but do you think, because the game against Auburn in particular, that was just horrid basketball the first half, or was it really good defense? I mean, Auburn couldn't hit anything. We weren't shooting great. But as far as Sharif Cooper, who was supposed to go off on us, he didn't in the first half. And we had a game plan and a specific defense set up to stop him, and it worked. I just wonder sometimes, as like players get more athletic and time goes on, especially when I think what happened now is all of a sudden coaches are focusing on defense and teaching defense more so than even offense on some level, and teaching 5 guys how to rotate and be a man and never leave gaps open. Closing out, we're denying the ball. Coach has done a better job of making it harder for any team to get in their offense, and we just don't have guys that understand offense yet. And the fact that we're not hitting shots is not helping. But I don't know how many open shots we're getting in the form play. I mean, if you watch this team run a set and go back and watch any of Cal's last teams at the end of the year, mind you, I think it's a night and day difference. And maybe it's the defense getting better or worse, but maybe it's just these guys just not understanding offense yet.
Yeah, once again, it's part of preparation, and and things aren't normal this year. I mean, coaches have to kind of hold back from certain ways they coach. I mean, I think Coach Cal had to, change up his philosophy a little bit as far as how he gets on guys. I mean, And there's times where, kids are mentally challenged right now. How can you really, yell at a guy and get him motivated to go out there and play harder than when he's playing and he's going through
No,
these
that's fair.
times?
That's fair. But and I'll grant you that that's a great point, because nobody's gone through what we're going through, what we're all going through right now, and we don't even. I don't think anyone's. I mean, just the mental toil it's going to take on all of us on some level. But I will tell you a guy who would go out and yell at you no matter how hard you were playing, and that was the guy that we played for. I mean, he didn't care. I mean, he'd go out, and it's almost like, okay, on some level, I get what Cal's saying. He doesn't want to rob a guy of his confidence, right? He doesn't want to break, if it's Boston, he doesn't want to break Boston down. He wants him going out there and playing with all the confidence in the world. And maybe that's what we saw last night. But you and I played for a coach who, his job on October 15th, if not beforehand, whether COVID was around or not, was, I am going to steal your heart. I'm going to rob you of every part of you that thinks you're good. I'm going to take every ounce of confidence away from you, and I'm going to make you feel this big and wish you weren't here. That was his goal. Now you got a chance to respond. Do I shriek back from this and go home and cry to my mom and dad? That's what I did 5 times my freshman year. Or do you buck up and say, okay, I've got to push through this? And you pushed through it, and so did all of our teammates, which is why we became such good teams. I mean, Coach was hard, and you know how hard he was, and you know how easy it is now to talk about how hard he was then, when, man, we were struggling then. I mean, how many times did you walk into practice and were you thinking, this is going to be a long one or a short one? How pissed is Coach? OB, Del Rey, how mad is Coach? What do you think? I mean, if he was mad, we were going all day, and he was going to brutalize us.
No, I got you. With 2 different coaches. We're gonna move forward here. You're Lexington bred, born and raised. Definitely a great high school player in Lexington, and you had an opportunity to go to,
Georgia,
a few other schools, but you chose to walk on at Kentucky. I don't remember hearing this story, so I'm asking you the question.
Well, you weren't around. You were up in Boston. You were up in Boston when that story came around. So I could have gone to Georgia. Georgia was the school that was asking me to sign early signing period, my senior year of high school. And I was stubbornly holding out for UK, and UK was never coming around, and they just weren't. And I wasn't good enough. That was actually the fun realization when I got to UK as a walk-on. And I realized, oh, I don't belong here. No, this is a whole nother level of what I thought. But I was still stubborn. I wanted to play there because of Dad. I'm a Kentucky boy. And so, long story short, they weren't going to waste a scholarship on me, but I almost feel like it was this kind of decision. If he wants to walk on, tell him he can walk on. He can be on the team. Give him a jersey. One of those kind of things from Coach P. He had seen me play in his camp, and as a result of that, decided that I wasn't worth the scholarship. But maybe I was worth a seat on the bench, and being a practice foil for, when you guys, when all of us were sucking, let's yell at Cameron, send him on the treadmill. So, but I turned down scholarship to Georgia to walk on at Kentucky. And here's the thing: you came here. Why did you come here? It may not be
win.
Okay. I did too. I remember telling Coach because he did try to kind of talk me out of it. Like, he's like, because he didn't get it, right? He's like, you would rather come here, sit the bench for 4 years, because that's what you're going to do, than go to Georgia and maybe be a part of what they're planning for you. And I remember saying, Coach, listen, this is Kentucky. And we're sitting up in his office at Old Memorial Coliseum. I said, this is Kentucky. I said, this has been my dream my whole life. I said, if I can live my dream, and in the process, possibly, this is 94, 95, so who knows, maybe win a national championship. I'm not winning a national championship at Georgia. Pretty sure that's not going to happen. There's a chance one happens here. And there was almost 3 of them that happened there.
Right. And, you don't play for the first 2 years. I think you played maybe 15 games the first 2 years.
Yeah, 2.5.
And, I mean, after that, Like, what? I mean, what were you thinking after that? Were you? Because I know I know in your mind as a player being competitive, as we
Yeah.
were, we weren't going to just leave and back down from something, but you had to be thinking about something. What were you thinking?
What you mean, like once I started playing, or you mean before I
No,
started playing?
before when you sat the bench the first 2 years,
I was
one
good.
and a half
I was
years.
good. I was good. Listen, one of the things I realized when we went to our reunion in
But you
Miami,
was a star in Lexington for
we had
Dunbar High School.
listen, and
Come on.
you know
And now
this.
you're playing at home, you're sitting on the bench.
You know this. Being a star in Kentucky, I was like first team all state or something. Um, I was a great high school player,
Yes.
but
I
we're not
know.
talking high school ball. We're not talking Dunbar High School, right? We're talking like literally the best traditional program basketball in the country, and who's got this brand new firebrand coach who's getting all these McDonald's All-Americans to come in and play. So it's like he's resurrected the program, and it's just it was night and day. It was scary actually, because I remember watching like the first, we'd go run the track in the preseason, and I'm looking around at all these guys. I'm like, yeah, I'm not this kind of athlete. I mean, and sure enough, I came in dead last when we were doing our laps. Get in the pool, same kind of thing.
I'm glad I didn't have to experience that.
Yeah, you did. They shut the pool down right before you got there, didn't you? Let me tell you something. That
And
was
the track.
one of
And
the
the
biggest
track.
jokes. That was one of the biggest jokes. All the team pretending they couldn't swim. So Sean Brown would give them like this life vest. Well, now they can't swim. They're just sitting there doggy paddling, and they're not breaking a sweat. But anyway, I don't know. It was not bothering me at all that I wasn't playing. And I told Coach, if I sit here for 4 years and I get to wear that uniform and I get to play at Kentucky, if I never play, Coach, I'm going to be happy. And so 2.5 years in, Wayne, we're that 90. We had just won a championship. So that's icing on the cake. I'm not getting, there's been no growth. As a matter of fact, I played less my sophomore year than I did my freshman year. And so there's been no kind of, all right, well, maybe now I'm going to get more time. I mean, I had, I had Tony Delk, Roderick Rhodes, Ron Mercer, Derek Anderson, Jeff Shepard. Hishimu on some level when he played the 3 or 2. I mean, I had a bunch of guys in front of me that needed to be in front of me.
But they couldn't shoot like you, though. Only guy that could equip for that is.
But they could play defense a lot better than I could. And so that was the reason Coach, and you know this because you saw it happen, Coach would put me in, and if I ran a play, if I got a shot off, good. But now here comes the test. Am I going to blow it for us on this next possession? Am I gonna jump out and just lose my man, or let him blow by me and one and get him? That was the problem. And he was always worried about that because he really did. And to be fair, I couldn't. Coach saw me as a defensive liability, and I was terrible. I learned by the time I was a senior to at least use some geometry to kind of help me as far as like where I needed to be and when, but I just was not quick laterally, so I could not guard people. And but whether I could shoot or not, I was on the team and I was happy. So there wasn't any thought of I should have gone somewhere else at that point. At that point, I'm like, I'm a junior. I've got a national championship. I'm a junior. I mean, I'm happy as a clam.
97 rolls by.
Well, and then DA
97 happens.
Well,
DA goes down.
DA goes down.
When did you arrive? Because you arrived.
Yeah, I guess technically I started my playing time spiked up against Vandy up in Cincinnati, and that's when my playing time went up. Okay. But I went 0 for 4 from the 3, so nothing special, right? Coaches over there like, but again, that's my job. I didn't get yelled at because I shot the ball, and that's what you're supposed to do. Then we go to Arkansas, and Coach had never won in Arkansas. And so we're down there, and I think it wasn't their national championship team, but they were still a good team. Mm-hmm. And it was on Super Bowl Sunday in February. And I can't explain it other than to say this, because, and I was going to say this earlier, this is where I
found the coming out party.
Well, but here's why I found more love and respect and appreciation for Coach P since our 96 reunion that we had in Miami a couple of years ago, because I don't know why I realized this then, but on that trip, looking at all you guys, when we were all standing around telling stories and talking, and I'm looking at all this talent, and I'm realizing again, yeah, I don't belong with this talent. I've never belonged with this talent. But coach treated me as though I belonged with that talent. Now, what that means is he yelled at me as much as he yelled at everybody else. I'm a walk-on. I'm literally on the end of the bench. I'm a nothing. I mean, it's me and then it's a chair, maybe a manager, but there's no guarantee if he invests his time, energy, and sweat and voice and thought process in trying to coach me up. There's no guarantee I'm ever going to amount to anything and ever going to reciprocate and give him, be a player that he's going to get something out of. No guarantee. But yet, first day, freshman year, he was on my ass and stayed on it for the 3 years he was there. And as miserable as I was then, and I was miserable, we all were. I mean, he was. I still have nightmares to this day about our practices back then. As miserable as it was, I don't become the shooter I am. I don't get better at defense. I don't have the career I have without coaching me my freshman year and sitting the bench for 2.5 years. And not to bring it back to this year's team, but I think that's one of the things that frustrate me as I watch some of these players who, because of so many guys have come in and gone the next year and been here one and dones, they don't understand, and fans don't either, as far as why are these guys all of a sudden better when they get to NBA? Because there's a big leap your sophomore year. And some of our guys are here their freshman year, and we get them as freshmen, so 17 and 18. And then if they did stick around, like this year's team, Wayne, I mean, how many of these guys do you think are going pro? Right now, I'm going to say 0. So if these guys stick around one more year, and I don't know how that'll look, they're going to be night and day different than they are now next year, because they'll have gone through it. There will be some maturity. There will be some growth. And there's going to be, especially this year, it's a hard year. I mean, you and I, we would get beat up for emotionally, mentally, for not finishing a game well. We won the game, but coaches ranting and raving because we had a 10-point lead and let it drop to 6 right before the game ended. These guys are losing games. I mean, they're coming in the locker room losers. And now you've got the questions and the Cal stuff and the media and the fans. And adversity is going to turn this somewhere. I just hope it turns them in on each other to the point where we're going to do something. Whatever special means to this team, it doesn't mean the same thing all the time, but we're going to become special because of the adversity we're facing. Because that's what every team has to do. It's what all of our teams did.
And I agree. I think they got to, it's got to be them against, the world right now. And it's got to be, them and them only. That staff, and they just got to lock in and try to turn this thing around. I got a story to tell.
All right.
And I finally get to, reveal this.
Okay.
So when I met Carmeron Mills, right, we were playing pickup, and in the Seton Center at the time, which is now the Johnson Center. It's right on the.
Oh, is it really? I didn't know that.
I guess now Johnson Center now. It was changed because I thought I was going into the wrong place one time, but it was actually the old Seton Center. And so this guy, we were playing pickup, and this guy took a shot and he landed on my foot, and then he blamed it all on me. And he was mad at me. How long were you mad at me is what I want to know.
He landed on your foot and he sprayed.
I said my bad and everything. I'm sorry. I just got here. I'm a freshman. How
McDonald's All-American freshman.
How long were you mad at me though? Because you didn't speak to me for like the next
honestly
week.
Oh, bananas. I didn't speak to you because you and I was on blue team, you were on white team. And I don't know if that was the same game where I gave you like 20 because you were guarding me for some reason instead of Anthony. But that was one of my favorite times. That's one of my favorite stories is you not knowing how to come off screens defensively, and me just having learned.
I was a ping pong my first year. I was a ping pong.
I mean, that's the thing. If you don't have the skill to get open one-on-one like I don't, if you don't have Wayne Turner's ball handling abilities and slipperiness where you can just slide right by you and get to the hole, just learn how to use a screen. How many times did coach say that? Just watch Reggie Miller, learn how to use a screen, and you'll be open. And I learned how to use a screen, and I ran you off 50 of them, I bet, one time. And I can tell you how good that made me feel too, because you came in all the talent in the world, McDonald's All-American, 62 points or something stupid like that in high school in a game. Completely broke shot, but that's another story. You come in and for some reason you're guarding me, and I'm like, why is he guarding me? Because I don't know if I was guarding you. I can't imagine I was. And I just started running you off screens, Mark Pope screens and Walter McCarty screens, and they just started looking for me. And I think I had to have gotten 20.
Hey,
on
Wayne Turner. What was hard for me to understand going into the season is why you didn't play, because you was making so many shots.
But that's all I could do.
That. You until Coach started saying you couldn't guard anybody.
Do you remember the drill we used to do? It was like 4 out, 5 in. Do you remember that? Where we'd have 4 guys inside the 3-point line on defense. We have 5 guys spread out on the perimeter, there to do one thing, and that's catch and shoot. So we throw skip passes, and the 4 guys in the middle would have to close out. So there's a closeout drill, there's a box out drill, and there's a rebounding drill. So you got 4 guys trying to box out 5. So invariably, as these guys on the offense, they start whipping it around, somebody's pretty quickly going to get open because you got 4 guys trying to cover them. And I would sit in the corner. And this was the only kudos I ever got, the only thanks I ever got, the only thing that made me feel good in practice before I got to play was I would sit in the corner and I'd hit 25 in a row. Wow. Basically meaning that the 5 guys or the 4 guys that were in weren't going anywhere. They had to stay in because they could do everything right. But if the shot went in, they had to do it again. So the only way they were getting out and rotating in another group is if you missed the shot and they got the rebound. So if you keep making the shot, they're not going anywhere.
3 stops and out, right?
I think so. It's something like, I think that was
3 stops. And if they scored, you started all over.
So I'm saying, so all I'd have to do is stand in that corner, wait for somebody to throw me a skip pass, and doesn't matter how fast you are, you're not getting from that wing down to that corner that quickly. No. And I just sit down there and I just hit threes all day. I remember one time hearing the ooze from the coaches, like, how many's he hit? And then the best part though was the anger coming from the 4 guys in the middle. I mean, I don't want to cast aspersions here, but Tony Delk might have tried to intentionally break my leg that day. He might have. I'm saying. But that's all I had. That's all I could do is I could shoot.
Well, I got one more story. That's it.
Okay.
So in 97, me, you, Mike Howard, in Alaska shootout. We went there for the tournament. Gotcha. Me, you, and Mike Howard decided to jump over this ramp. Let me talk.
This is a you story.
We decided to jump over a ramp in Alaska. You and Mike were on the same snowmobile. I was on the one man. I wanted that one man bad because I wanted to ride by myself. I didn't like the two.
And where did that get you?
I followed you guys. You found the ramp. We jumped the ramp probably 3 times. I went back for a 4th, jumped it. You and Mike Howard were nowhere in sight.
We were done.
What happened?
Done.
Why'd you leave me?
The funny thing is, I remember that moment. I do not remember you being on by yourself, though clearly you were because of how the story goes. I don't remember it being me and Mike. I thought it was just you and I. And then
it was you and Mike Howard.
I don't remember any ramp. I don't remember any ramp. All I remember is we all met back at the house.
Well, it was 24 years ago.
Count, right? There's the George Barber's. We're doing the count. All right, make sure we got all the players. Coach, we're missing one. And if you had seen the face of the Alaskans, the gentleman, I forget his name, Boomer or something or other, whose house we were at, and all of his buddies were borrowing snowmobiles.
Right.
When George told Coach loudly, Coach, we're missing a player. If you had seen the faces of these Alaskans, they were like, oh, well, he's probably dead then. I mean, it was like, yeah, I mean, they pointed us away and they said, if you go 600 miles this direction, you will never cross a road. That's how out in the wilderness we were. And I just think if you had turned the wrong way and kept going thinking you were going towards the house, we would have never seen you again. Now, fortunately, you found your way back.
You don't understand how many houses I went by.
But
So luckily, I found some nice people,
yes, you did.
and they were very nice.
Who got on their
And
snowmobile?
I think God sent them to me for sure.
I do too.
I,
Because
I still
I'm telling you,
thank
man,
God to this day for that,
I
because
tell
it
you,
started getting dark.
they were
I
acting
lost for
like
3 hours,
I
4 hours,
am.
maybe 3 hours.
Yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
this is my question to you, though. This is my next question.
All right.
What did you say when Coach asked you who was with him? Because you was with me.
No, Mike Howard was with you. You just said. Why would I? Why
But
would
Mike
I?
Howard didn't play. You were a player. You were my teammate.
Sometimes there was debates about whether or not I was a manager or a player. There was a lot of conversation about that many times. I don't remember Coach asking, because did we have like a buddy system? Is that what you're saying? Like we had like, okay, you all take care of each other. I don't remember that, because I think the bottom line is that
But
once we realized,
we all were out there together on those snowmobiles, because it
but
was at least a set of what, 5, or we all went out together.
I know, but again, somehow you got separated, and I still don't have a clear picture on what happened. All I know is Mike and I guess, get back, and that count happened, and I mean the terror on these guys' face when they were told, yeah, we're missing a guy. Oh, it happens to be our starting point guard, or I guess you were, he was on our team. So, but I mean, it was frightening there for a while. And then because these guys are taking it seriously. I mean, the Alaskans, we don't know any better. They're like, if we don't find him in the next hour, yeah, he's dead. Which would have been awful, because then you wouldn't have been the third leading scorer on the 97 NCAA tournament.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, after, for a while, I was like, okay, I'm gonna find my way. But it was all white out there. Then I was like, you know what? I said, when it started getting dark, I said, this is getting scary. This is, and then I started hearing dogs barking, and I was like, oh man. And then I found those people, and I drive up to them, and it was the scariest thing in my life. I was running out of gas.
Yeah.
And they take me to the bus.
Oh.
And the first thing that coach says is, what am I going to tell the media? And then he said, this is supposed to be my point guard. So that whole year, coach did not trust me.
And that sounds like coach, because you couldn't handle a snowmobile. You can't handle the ball. I mean, that makes sense.
No, man, I think Derek called me an idiot.
Oh, I have no doubt about that.
Hey, I was just so happy to see that bus and see y'all on it. I was like, wow, thank you, God. And we ended up winning the championship, so that made it even better.
So you said it was all white, and not only was it all white out there, and you couldn't tell anything, but it was just trees. There are no roads.
Well, they said I went over 6 lakes.
I believe it. That's the thing. How would you even know that?
They said that. And I was like, wow. Because when I got with them, it was like, I think they were on a lake. And then we went the back road and went to the house. And
what amazed me, though, is how did they know who you were with? I mean, did you remember?
Oh, I told them right away.
But you remember the guy's name? His name was like Boomer something.
I just said he was an Iditarod sled champion. He was the last one to win the champion.
See, Wayne, right there. This is a lesson for the kids. That's why you study the scouting report, folks. Right there. That's all you got to know, and that saves your life.
Well, bro, I'm not gonna hold you any longer. I definitely appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming on the show. For those that tuned in, definitely subscribe to the Burner Turner Show and the Field of 68 Media Network. On Twitter, on Instagram. Tune in. Thanks, bro.